It's time for Recipe of the Day. Do you want to make extra delicious shrimp? Of course you do. This is the seasoning blend that you need. It has a perfect balance of flavors: spice, salt, citrus, a little bit of garlic. It's really wonderful. I'm going to be telling you how to make a full half cup batch that fits in a standard 4-ounce spice jar. But I'm also going to give you the amounts to just make 2 tablespoons of the blend, so you can just make it right when you want to use it. And that's going to be enough to season 1 to 2 pounds of shrimp. I'm going to explain a little bit about how to decide how much to use as we go. But yeah, so I'm going to give you the amounts for making a little bit and for making a full batch so that you can have it in your pantry to just grab and use when you want to add a little extra pizzazz to those shrimpies. So the basic flavor profile here is garlic powder, salt, and black pepper, just like standard backbone of a seasoning blend. And then there's also some chili powder in there. And I like that because I like the flavor of chili powder, but also it kind of darkens in a nice way on the shrimp as they cook. And you know how shrimp don't take very long to cook, and so sometimes you don't get that sort of nice color on them. This chili powder does that for you. The other thing you could use instead is paprika. That'll do the same thing. Now, the other thing that is in the seasoning blend is some citrus flavor. I'm giving you a few different options for achieving that citrus flavor in your blend. It just goes so good with shrimp. You really want it there. And so the easiest thing to do is to use some coriander. Ground coriander seed is the seed from the same plant as cilantro, so it has that kind of zesty, citrusy flavor. Another thing that you can use that I really love in here is sumac. Sumac is a Middle Eastern spice. If you've ever had za'atar, there is sumac in there. It comes from sumac berries. It has a really deep red color and tastes a little bit like lemon juice. Very tangy with a little sweet and earthy note to it. Now, the other thing that you can use is some lemon pepper. You just want to cut back some of the black pepper in the recipe, otherwise you have too much pepper going on. And then the other option is some crystallized lime or crystallized lemon. There's a brand of this that you're probably familiar with. It's True Lime, and they're these little packets that people add to their water on the go, and really they're only made of the one ingredient, the citrus, so they're really perfect for this kind of thing. They're just very potent, so you're just going to add a tiny little bit of that. Finally, what you can use is some lime or lemon zest. Fresh zest grated from the lemon or the lime. This is really perfect if you're using the blend right away on some shrimp. Otherwise, it is introducing some moisture to your blend. So if you're going to be putting that fresh zest into a seasoning blend that you're planning to store in the pantry for a while, what you want to do is zest your citrus onto some paper towel and let it sit there for an hour to really draw out some moisture. Then you're going to add it to your seasoning mixture, but leave the jar open for 24 hours after adding it so that it has a chance to kind of dry out a little bit. And then you really want to store it in a cool, dry place and use it within 2 weeks. Before I jump into the actual recipe, I'm just going to tell you that there is no sugar in this blend. As I scoured the internet and my own cookbooks looking for the ideas of what I wanted this recipe to be, sugar popped up every now and then. And then I actually read somewhere that sugar helps with that browning of the shrimp that I was talking about with the chili powder. So I actually did a side-by-side comparison, and I did not find a difference from the sugar. It did add a little bit of a sweet flavor though, and I didn't love it. So I am not putting sugar in here, but if you wanted to, you can add a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar per pound of shrimp, which ends up being about 1/2 teaspoon for the 2 tablespoon batch of seasoning, or 4 teaspoons for the 1/2 cup batch. Okay, the recipe's coming, I promise. Just that one last thing I want to tell you about the amount of seasoning that you're going to use on the shrimp. Now, I have tested this a whole bunch of times, and I have found that it really matters what you're using the shrimp for, what else is going on in the dish. The seasoning blend is actually quite potent in flavor. It's strong flavorings. And so if you're having the shrimp by themselves, it's a skewer of shrimp for appetizer, then you don't want to put as much. It's a little bit overpowering. Same goes if you're adding them to a dish that has a ton of other flavors and seasonings going on. You would want to add the lesser amount, which is going to be 3 to 4 teaspoons per pound of shrimp. Now, on the other hand, if you're serving these with something that doesn't have a lot of flavor, if they're going over rice, plain white rice, or on a salad that doesn't have a lot of stuff, lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, maybe a little light vinaigrette, then these really flavorful shrimp with a really good amount of seasoning, those are going to shine. Those are going to be delicious. So in that case, you're going to use 2 tablespoons of the seasoning per pound of shrimp. Okay, I'm going to start with the ingredients for the half cup batch, and then I'll tell you the smaller amounts in case you want to make that smaller batch. So it's 4 tablespoons of chili powder, a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of salt, and then 4.5 teaspoons of the coriander, the sumac, or the lime zest. If you're using the crystallized lime, you want like a quarter of that. So like a teaspoon maximum. And if you're using the lemon pepper, you can use the 4.5 teaspoons of lemon pepper there, but you're going to drop that pepper down to a half teaspoon. So if you're not using the lemon pepper, it is 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper. If you are using the lemon pepper, you want just a half teaspoon. And then you just mix that up and store it with that caveat that if you're using the fresh lime zest, you would have dried that out a little bit first and you're going to leave the container open overnight and then use it up within 2 weeks. If you're not using the lime zest, if you're using the coriander, sumac, or lemon pepper, or crystallized lime, you can store it in the pantry for months just like you do your other spices. Just know that over time it will reduce in its flavorfulness. Okay, for that smaller batch of seasoning, this is going to make 2 tablespoons, which is good for some really well-seasoned shrimp, 1 pound of shrimp, or if you want them a little bit lighter on the seasoning, it's going to be good for about 2 pounds of shrimp. It is 3 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, a half teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of the coriander, sumac, or lime zest. Or you can do like a quarter teaspoon of that crystallized lime, or 1 teaspoon of the lemon pepper, but then just like a pinch of the black pepper. Don't put the whole half teaspoon. I know it sounds really good, right? It is such a great seasoning blend for shrimp. You're going to love it. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is May 7th of 2025. This recipe is found on cookthestory.com, so another way that you can find it is to go to cookthestory.com and search for shrimp seasoning. And I'm just going to tell you, there are so many recipes over there. Whenever you're thinking about making anything, go to cookthestory.com first and search for what you're looking for there. You will probably find it. So many delicious recipes, all well tested by me. You're going to love them all. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookville.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast recipe of the day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.